Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And week 1 is officially upon us tomorrow. That's the best way I can put it. Um, this will be a longer video than normal because we are going to talk about the 3 guys who got paid: Trent Williams, Hayward, Patrick Surtain. We're going to do the standings that what I promised you last week. Standings and how they shake out, predictions of all the teams, all 32. We're not going to do playoffs because there's a lot of teams that I don't know. I don't know where they're going to be. Like, will they make it? Where will they make it? That's up to you guys. You can drop them in the comments along with me. And hold on a second here. Where the last thing we'll be doing is, what do we think? Actually, how do I answer? We'll be doing our weekly predictions, which we have done every year for the last 5 years. The teams that we have selected are, we're going to do 5 teams that we're going to keep an eye on, but we might do a total of 6 games just to even it out. So we'll go with that. Hang on, I just want to make sure I get this right. Okay. So let's first start with Hayward, Trent Williams, and Patrick Surtain. Let's start with the newest one that came down this morning, which was Patrick Surtain getting a new contract. The Denver Broncos made Patrick Surtain the highest paid corner in NFL history. 4-year deal, $96 million extension, $77.5 million guaranteed. Now, I'm not good at math, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm good at math. This makes it about, I think, $23 million. I think right around there. It's about 23 million. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Rough estimate here, but that's a great deal for Patrick Surtain because you were going to have to pay him. You were going to have to. I mean, I'm sure I'm close enough to the mic here. You're going to have to pay him eventually. And Pat Surtain is one of the best young corners. There's guys that you find in a draft that you're like, man, we could have drafted him higher with his talent, and he's still been good. Pat Surtain was that guy. You drafted him high, That's the guy you dream of getting. You draft him high and it worked out. It was beautiful. It was the best way you could do things. You got a great young corner out there. You paid him. You paid him as early as you could. You're paying him into his fourth year. Now, there is a question of how does this work? Is this a total of his 6 years because he still has his fourth year and his fifth year option? Does this count as a 6 year? Or is this they ripped up the last 2 years or the last year, depending on if they did pick up the option? So is it a 4 or 5, potentially 6 year deal? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on the details about that. Next up was Trent Williams. Trent Williams happened yesterday morning. And I got to admit, I was like, this is how you do business. For as messed up as they messed this up, because they did mess this up. What happened was with we've talked about Brandon Ayuk before. Brandon Ayuk was talking to the media. He had a holdout admission that he's like, man, I made it harder for myself at the end. It wasn't that serious. But you know, it's the cost of doing business. It really is. But Trent Williams' contract goes like this: 3 year deal, $82.66 million, $48 million guaranteed. It's a restructured deal. So how this works is dependent on what they did. Did they add years? Did they add more money? Guaranteed money? Was this they cut off the fat of the contract and gave him this, like some teams do, which is not a bad idea. I don't exactly know what it is, but this deal, Trent Williams becomes 37 next year, I believe in November. I have to double check that. But he becomes 37 next year. That's very difficult. Very, very difficult to play at that level. This also puts the 49ers in a position. Because since it's a restructured deal, they can restructure every year. But the issue with this is you have a restructured deal makes it really tough on the organization for cap purposes. That's kind of the position that they are in. But if you have a chance to win a Super Bowl, go do it. Trent Williams gives you that chance. Go do it. Now, up to Cam Hayward. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, hang on. I know I saw it. Yeah, but I can just easily grab it in a sec. There we go. 3 year deal for Cam Hayward, $45 million. I believe $16 million guaranteed. Now, here's the difference between all three guys. Trent Williams is an older guy. He's still very good, but an older guy, an all-pro guy. Cam Hayward is still a staple of that Steelers defense. Both of those guys are older. Cam Hayward's kind of on the decline a little bit, but he's still very productive. Patrick Surtain's a young guy. This is his first real contract in terms of actually getting real money. So it's not a bad deal for any of these guys to be kept because they had to help you because the secondary is very young and you're very young, but you're very talented and have shown promise. And in the case of Williams and Hayward, they're staples of their team on offense and on defense. You saw the issues without having Cam Hayward. You saw the issues without having Trent Williams. Not having those guys out there causes issues. It didn't help that Trent Williams held out the whole year until like the week before the NFL season. That doesn't help you. But you want him there over a backup because you don't have any faith in a backup. I'll put it to you this way. Your starter is Tom Brady. Your backup is Jacoby Brissett. Doesn't work. It works fine. It's okay. You'll survive. But it won't. If you have to have a guy who's a starter all the time, doesn't work. Doesn't work. It's just the point of emphasis. Now, we're going to talk about this. This wasn't before we go into the standing stuff. Ricky Percival, as we say with the 49ers here, the Rick Percival incident. You probably have all seen this. But just if the few that are unaware, Ricky Percival is a rookie of the San Francisco 49ers. Drafted this year out of Florida. Was at a jewelry store on Saturday, around Saturday afternoon, maybe even Saturday evening. That's at least when I saw it. Goes into a store. There was a young man walked into the store with a weapon. I don't know if Percival tried to apprehend him, stop him, or if it was the owner. One of the guys grabbed the weapon. It fired, hitting the perpetrator, the person who brought in the weapon, and Percival. Hit him in the chest. He actually had a bullet wound in the chest. And paramedics made it. They got him to the hospital. He was in stable condition. He was okay. Both those guys were okay. The reason I bring this up is Trent Williams said a big reason why he came back to his teammates was because of this incident of how life is too short sometimes. You can't make those decisions just because of money. That was something a young kid who just walked into a jewelry store and yet somehow got shot by another young kid. Accidental, but it happened. The young man whose weapon fired off and hit Percival and himself has been charged with multiple charges, including attempted murder. We'll see what happens. It just shows how scary of a time we live in. You really don't realize how the world can be a scary place. All right, now back to football. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Back to football, we have the standings. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to look at the standings here And we're going to go with the AFC first. We're going to start with the AFC East because that's the top part. So we're going to start here. We're going to say who was first, second, third, and fourth by record. Okay? So the team I have winning the AFC, believe it or not, it's the Dolphins. And here's why. It would be the Bills, because I was talking about this back and forth. The Bills are like this. It is so difficult to watch them sometimes, and it is so fun to watch them sometimes. Because they have all this talent, and somehow they squander it. It's like a couple teams. They have all this talent, and they squander it somehow. But then they have really good games sometimes. That's what happens with the Bills. So the reason I picked the Dolphins is if Tua stays healthy and Tyreek doesn't have that kind of issue where he misses. But while he played, he was not 100%. They are better than the Bills. They are. The Bills, I'm concerned about their offense. Not the run game. The run game will be fine. It's the pass game. Not having a Stephon Diggs. Like, I explained this to you in this way. Everyone loves Justin Jefferson. We all love CeeDee Lamb. We all think they're great players. Take that player off the team. What does those two teams have? What do the Cowboys and the Vikings have without Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb? Take them off the team. Just think about it. What do they have? Nothing. You look at the best player, Addison, okay. Cooks, and Hawkinson for the Vikings. Ferguson for the Cowboys. It's not a good group. I'll say it that way. It's not good. That's the point I'm trying to make. And those guys, the Justin Jeffersons, the CeeDee Lambs, the Stephon Diggs, excuse me, in this sense, those guys garner attention. They need your attention at all times. You need to at least, someone's always going to be looking that way. You got the guy who's covering him, and then there's another guy who's paying attention to keep an eye on you. There's always that guy. And even as you get older as a player, that doesn't go away. They still gotta be like, man, that guy can go off at any time. Even though he's old, he can still go off. And I have to be there to prevent it. But losing that guy causes issues. So I have Miami winning. This is going to come down to like a final game. If I remember correctly, the Dolphins Bills, I think, played the last game for themselves. I think they're going to do it like last year. Not 100% certain. Actually, I can check on that real quick. So, but I believe I'm correct on that front. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. Yeah, Dolphins played the Jets. Okay. So I was wrong. So what happens here is you're a team like the Bills, let's say. You're going to end up at second. But it goes, in my opinion, Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Patriots. Dolphins will be, I think, 11-6. Bills will be 10-7. Tied with the Jets at 10-7. That's where they'll be. It might slip into a game here where the Dolphins might be 12-5, but the Bills are 11-6, and Jets might be 11-6, 10-7. But they'll all be very close, is what I'm trying to say. And the Patriots, I don't see them winning more than 4 games this year. I just don't. It's just not a good enough roster. They go 4-13. That's what it is. 4-13, maybe even 3-14. Next up, we got the AFC North. So, who do I have winning? This is a very interesting division. It's very competitive. I got Baltimore winning this division. I really do. I don't think there's really an answer to how to stop Lamar Jackson. At least a consistent answer that unless they go against themselves and beat themselves, they're better than everybody in this division. I'm concerned with Cincinnati's secondary. I don't know what's going on in Pittsburgh at the quarterback position. And Cleveland, we'll have to see when Nick Chubb comes back. That defense is going to be ready to go. But those are all things that need to happen. So I got Baltimore winning this. They might have a very similar season to last year. I think they go 13-4. I think that's what Baltimore goes at. Cincinnati will be second. They're going to go 11-6. Pittsburgh will be third. They're going to go and win 9 games and go 9-8. Keep the Tomlin winning record alive. That's what they'll do. And Pittsburgh is a dumpster fire quarterback. We don't know what is happening. Cleveland just by default falls to 4. But I don't think it's going to be because they're bad. I think it's because they're just going to have an season. They're going to go like 8-9. And that's what it is. All right, South. So this is an interesting division to talk about here. You got a new coach, got a couple second-year coaches, and you got a third-year coach. So relatively young in each spot here. You got young quarterbacks. But I have Houston wins. I think Houston is that much better than every other team in this division. Bringing in Stephon Diggs, re-signing Nico Collins, bringing it. You got rid of Devin Singletary, but you brought in Joe Mixon. Cam Akers has shown up a little bit in the preseason. That's really good things that are happening for you. So yeah, I have Houston winning this. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence at all. In my opinion, he's not been very good since he's entered the league. He's been okay. But besides one season, he hasn't been that good. Anthony Richardson has to show me he can stay healthy in any game. Because legit, how many times have we seen this guy play? He played 5 games last year, I think. He got hurt in every game. That does not help your situation. I understand you have an aggressive style, but it does not help you. Will Levis, you had Hopkins last year. You bring in Tyler Boyd. You have Traylon Burks as your 4th guy. You brought in Calvin Ridley from Jacksonville. That could be really good too. So let's do it this way. Houston wins. They go 12-5. Colts, I think second in this race. They go 10-7. Titans bounce back. They go 10-7. Jacksonville falls to 8-9. Keep score, because I'll forget this, but keep score in the comments or in the description, okay? In your comments. So whatever. Final team in the AFC's the AFC West. I am not picking against the Chiefs to win this division. But I do think they're going to have a harder time in this division. Because I think Denver offense looks a little more competent this year. We'll see how it is. Let's see how good Bo Nix is. Let's see what Las Vegas does on offense. That's a mystery. And let's see if there's anyone for the Chargers to throw to on their offense. Because if you look at it, we can like who knows when Justin Herbert comes back. Is he ready for week 1? Is it Easton Stick? Taylor Heineke? Who knows? But I will say this before we say what the records are in the division. Tell me this in the live chat right now, actually. How crazy was it in terms of the quickness that the Raiders and Broncos said this was our quarterback? It was insane. And I understand, like, you look at Bo Nix for an example. He played really well in week 1. Really, really well. He had 5 drives. He had 3 drives more than I think it was Jason Stidham. He had more drives than Stidham did. That's not saying a whole lot, but 3 drives, you have more opportunities. They ran the ball better with Nix. They threw the ball better with Nix. But that's not a fair assumption to make. He had more opportunities. And he had more opportunities the next week. So you knew who it was going to be. They knew who it was going to be. They just didn't say it was going to be Bo Nix. In the case of Vegas, they gave the job to Gardner Minshew over Aiden O'Connell after the second preseason game where nobody played well. Nobody. So I don't know. But yeah, I have Kansas City winning this division. I think it's an interesting division, to say the least. I think they honestly may go 11-6. They honestly may go like that because I don't even know if they may split with every team in this division this year. They may. They were pretty close to doing it last year, actually. They may split with every team. The second team I think is going to be there is, believe it or not, the Broncos. I think the Broncos are just that much better than the Raiders right now. The Raiders, I don't know what their offense is going to be like. Their defense is going to be really good. Their offense is going to be terrible. They don't throw it to anybody. I understand you don't have Davante Adams out there. Mayer, excuse me. You know, Bowers too. But at the same time, that's not enough for an offense. Kind of want to see what they do. I don't know about the ground game either. That's a whole nother question. So I say the Broncos, they'll bounce back a little bit. They go 9-8. The Chargers, I think, finish second. They go and win 8 games. They go 8-9. And then the Raiders, it falls apart. It's just they win 6 games. They go 6-11. Now to the NFC. We're gonna start with the NFC East and work our way down. So no one for 19 consecutive years has won this division back to back. The Cowboys are trying to change that. The Giants, Eagles, and Commanders are trying to keep that thing alive. Now, let's look at this from a lot of perspectives here. The Giants, I think, are going to be the 4th seed in this division. I don't think they're very good. You get rid of the guy, and you trade for Brian Burns. That's a good trade. But you get rid of Saquon Barkley, who goes to Philadelphia. Your rival. Your arch rival. That's not good. Basically, everyone in this division is an arch rival with each other. But you go and win this division if you keep Saquon Barkley and you add pieces around Daniel Jones. You didn't do that. You got rid of Saquon. You can blame Saquon for whatever you want to, but the offensive line is bad. Evan Neal's a turnstile back there. You cannot ask him to block. In pass protect, he's not good at it. You put him at right tackle. He was a left tackle in college. He's not good at it. Andrew Thomas is decent, but he's not great. He's okay. It doesn't work. So that's my thought for the Giants. Look, I honestly, as a Cowboys fan, I've been trying to say, okay, yeah, the Cowboys will win this division. You look at the schedule is really tough. It starts out tough and it ends fairly tough. The only good for the Cowboys is they end the season with a few games at home. That helps. You play Cincinnati at home. Washington at the end of the year is at home. You play one game on the road that's in the cold that is in Philadelphia. You always split with Philadelphia. So it's close, it's tight. It will be tight every year, I think, for the next foreseeable years. If you're Dallas, you need to win this division. You need it. If you're Philadelphia, you need to win this division. So it'll be a fun race. Because it is a race, really, between those two teams. But every time I look at Philadelphia, I question the offense. Because this is your 3rd coordinator in 3 years. Your 3rd defensive coordinator in 3 years. That's a lot. You have mainstays that have left in Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox. Brandon Graham is on his last ride. This is hard. This linebacking core is not very good. These are questions that need to be answered. So, I'm going to say the edge may go to Philadelphia in terms of talent, but in terms of wins and the teams that they beat, I think it goes to Dallas. So I'll give Dallas the slight edge, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's Philadelphia. So I'm going to kind of cheat here. I'm going to do 2 different for each, okay? In the case of the Cowboys winning, they go 12-5 for the 4th straight year. Philadelphia will go 11-6. Washington will go 8-9, and the Giants will go and win 4 games, go 4-13. If the Eagles win the division, they'll go 12-5. Dallas will go 11-6. Commanders will go 8-9, and Giants will go 4-13. I don't think those 2 bottom teams really change that much. And again, it might be off like a game or so. Maybe Dallas only wins 11 games or 10 games. Depends on how they look. And the same goes for the Eagles. Both have tough schedules. The Eagles actually start in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, on Friday. That's a really tough place to play and on a short week. It's really hard. because you got to think, are they flying out that night? Are they flying out the next day? How does that work? It's a lot. It's a lot. And I believe it's Saturday for them when they play. I believe when they finish the game, it will be like Saturday for them, if I remember correctly. I don't know exactly how that works. I think it's like about a 9-hour difference. Next up is the NFC North. I think this is going to be a really interesting division this year. I mean, I feel bad for the Vikings losing J.J. McCarthy and having to play with Sam Darnold, but I don't think he'll be that terrible. I think he'll survive. It's just not going to be great. So I think this is Lions' division to lose. So I have Detroit winning. This is where we get interesting because you got Chicago and Green Bay. I need to see Jordan Love play better through the whole year. I really do. Not a half season. The guy just got the highest paid contract as a quarterback, and he only played half of the year really well. He's played 1 year, and only half he played really well. That's concerning. Detroit, look, I believe in the hype, man. I believe in the hype. I think they're that good. I wonder what happens in their first game. That's all. But I think Detroit is that good. And Chicago, I kind of want to see what Caleb Williams does in week 1. I really want to see that. Caleb Williams in week 1, that's going to be awesome to watch as they play Tennessee to begin the year. That's a really interesting game to watch Caleb Williams playing. Let me see what Green Bay has in store for their game. Oh yeah, that's true. They got the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's a really 2 interesting matchups for those select teams. I think Detroit wins this division. They go 11-6, 12-5, right around there. Let me look actually at the Green Bay schedule here, because this is really where this depends. I want to see how they finish up the year, because it's a tough schedule for a lot of teams. How do they finish up the year is my question. So they go the final. Let's go with the final. Let's go from the bottom. Let's do that. So this is the bye is November 10th. So it's a later bye. They go Chicago, San Francisco, Miami, Detroit. Oh, actually, I should do this. At Chicago, home for San Francisco, home for Miami, at Detroit, at Seattle, home for New Orleans, at Minnesota, home for Chicago. That's a tough schedule. You might get a win over Miami because it's late November and they're going to be cold. But that's a tough schedule. So let me look at Chicago's schedule for the end of the year. And this is the reason I didn't do this for the Cowboys and Eagles, because there's a lot like this. Let's look at the end of the schedule here for the Bears. Yeah, their bye week's way early. So let's start around the same time, November 17th, where they face Green Bay. They're home for Green Bay, they're home for Minnesota, they're at Detroit, they're at San Francisco, they're at Minnesota. So they have 3 games where they're on the road. From November 28th November 28th to December 16th. Then they're home for Detroit again. They're home for Seattle, and the day after Christmas, and then they're home. On the road, excuse me, against Green Bay. So it's a tough schedule, but I think Green Bay's is a little tougher because of the bye weeks late. So I have Detroit going 11-6, 12-5. Bears will go. Actually, let's do it this way. Green Bay and Chicago will both go 10-6. I mean 10-7, excuse me. So Detroit will go 11-6, 12-5, but Green Bay and Chicago will both go 10-7. And then Minnesota, they'll go 7-9. 7-10, excuse me. I keep thinking we only have 16 games. Next up, the NFC South. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Atlanta's winning this division. I really believe in Atlanta. I think a new coach, new quarterback, potentially throwing more to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson getting some more play, the acquisitions of Justin Simmons and Matt Judon. I love this. Atlanta wins, but not by much. They go 10-7. Tampa goes 9-8. New Orleans goes 7-10. Carolina goes 5-11. 5-12, excuse me. And finally, the NFC West. This is an interesting one. I have San Francisco winning the division, but it's an interesting road. They go and they win 11 games. They go 11-6. But the Rams and Seattle stay right up there, both going 10-7. And Arizona keeps it fairly close as well as they go 7-10. All right, now let's do our predictions for week 1 as we kind of hurry this up as we've been on here for a while now. So the games we picked, there's 5 teams we're going to keep an eye on this year. But we may do a total of 6 games every week. So the teams we're going to keep an eye on: the Chiefs, the Ravens, the 49ers, the Patriots, the Cowboys, and the Lions. Actually, the 6 teams. So we're actually keeping an eye on the 6 teams. Okay? Now, just so happens the Ravens and Chiefs play each other. We're going to keep an eye on. Patriots, we keep an eye on. Cowboys, Niners, Lions. So let's start with this. The first game of the new league year is Rams at Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 3. Don't be shocked by that. When you're a home team, you're going to get favored by 3. That is kind of, excuse me a second. Sorry about that. So, the point I was trying to make earlier, don't be surprised. When that happens, that's just normally the starting point for Chiefs or any home game, really. But the Chiefs favored by 3 over the Ravens. It's going to be a celebration because it's a home game. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be loud. This is, if you're the Ravens, you need this game. And if you're the Chiefs, you've shown last year you don't need this game. So, it's an ugly game. That's the best way I'll put it. It's an ugly game. Ravens win this game only because they kick a game-winning field goal. The score is 20-17 in my book. Let me actually put this down. Actually, no. We'll leave that out. I'll put it in the description. But I do think the Chiefs will go far. I don't think they'll be really good in week 1. Okay. Next up is the Patriots and the Bengals. Bengals are favored by 8.5. It's the highest spread of the weekend. Normally you don't see an 8.5 point spread, and especially week 1, but we are. There's talk of Jamar Chase not playing in this game. He is looking for a new contract. I don't think it matters. Okay? I don't think it matters. I know week 1 things happen. It's crazy. I don't think it matters. I don't think the Patriots are that good. And I trust Joe Burrow and that offense over anything that the Patriots are going to do this year. So the Bengals win. Maybe not by 8. Maybe the Patriots cover. But I have the Bengals winning. Over the Patriots. With the score 20-14. I'm going to give the Patriots at least 14. I think they can get 14. Next up, Cowboys at Browns. Browns are favored by 2.5 in the dog pound. So this has kind of fluctuated a lot. This went from 3.5 to 2.5 to 1 to back to 2.5. It's kind of gone all over the place. But the Cowboys have always been underdogs since this deal came out. So we know. This is going to be interesting. No Nick Chubb. The offensive line, they'll be up for the Browns, as Wills may not go, and it might be Coughlin who's going at left tackle, excuse me. So it might be him. This is an interesting game for the matchups, really. Myles Garrett potentially going against anyone on the offensive line is dangerous, but against a rookie in Tyler Guyton, that's interesting. Return for Ezekiel Elliott. That is interesting. CeeDee Lamb's new contract with him going against Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. Amari Cooper going against the returning Trayvon Diggs. You can't sleep in the trenches game for both sides. It's interesting. I think this comes down to the quarterbacks. I really do. It comes right down to the quarterbacks. In week 1, there's so many game wins because the game it's tight all the way down, and then someone makes a big play. I think that's the Cowboys. I think it's tight all the way down. but the Cowboys make a big play and they win the game. Score is going to be really tight, actually, because the score is going to be 24-17. That's what I think happens. Next up, the Sunday night football. Also, before we leave this out, Cowboys and Browns first Tom Brady game. That needs to be known. Which I don't know if you guys saw what could happen when Brady becomes owner. It's kind of strange. Just leave that out. Rams at Lions. This is the Sunday night game. 3.5 for the Lions. This is an interesting game. You know Dan Campbell's going to have those guys pumped. But you know Sean McVay's going to be pumped so much that he's going to get those guys ready to go. I think they're going to miss Aaron Donald. Spoiler alert, they're going to miss Aaron Donald. Like, it's really one of those games that you're going to miss Aaron Donald. It will be a competitive game. I don't know how this will go for the Rams. I really don't. Let's see Puka. Let's see Cooper Kupp. Let's see what this ground game with Kyron Williams looks like. I'm really interested in the offensive line. But the defensive line is where I'm looking here. I have the Lions winning. Close game here. This is actually might be one of the closer games of the week, to be honest with you. As we have. Actually, let me put this down. I have the Lions winning. Scores 24-20. And finally, we have Jets at 49ers on Monday Night Football. We're going through this again. This is a lot of things that are happening. Jets fans the Jets fans are going to be paying very close attention this first quarter. Okay, as soon as Aaron Rodgers hits the field, they're paying very close attention. There's a lot of things going on. We've heard 4 plays, 90 seconds, Leonard Floyd hitting Aaron Rodgers, everything. And there's a lot going on here. So for the first 90 seconds, the first 4 plays, Aaron Rodgers getting hit by Leonard Floyd could all happen. Again. Because Leonard Floyd's now with the 49ers. It's crazy. 49ers there by 3.5. It all questions out, does Trent Williams play? And how does Christian McCaffrey look coming off the calf injury? That's my question. The Jets defense is going to be really good. We all know that. That's not a question. How's that offense going to look? I'm not 100% certain it will be better than what we saw last year. So, with saying that, I'm looking at the offense for the 49ers. It's okay. I think Dre Greenlaw is going to be missed. That's what I think. So I think he's going to get missed so much that they don't win this game. I think that's how much they miss him. Because you just lose a playmaker. You lose a tough guy playmaker, and you can't afford to lose. Jets win a tight one. Score. It's not even. It's gonna be an ugly game. It's gonna be score 7. As let's do this, Jen. Jets win 17-14. Not the most pleasant game, but a win over a good opponent. They'll take it. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hubert. Out.